Bonnie, will you please call the roll? Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the August 10th session, both regular and executive. Does anyone have any reason that we should separate those? Has anyone come to you with any corrections or anything, Bonnie? Does anyone have any at this time? Motion to approve both?
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 3, recognition awards, presentations, and public hearings. The first item is the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget hearing. You have the floor.
Okay, good evening to the Board of Education.
I think we need to technically open the hearing, right?
Oh, if we're going to have the hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, we'll open the hearing.
Perfect. Love the formalities, don't we?
All right, part of the hearing process, I'll present on our budget. This is up for final adoption. This is the proposed budget from the Business Office to the Board of Education. I'd ask that tonight, when we're done with it, under the proper part of the agenda, that you approve the budget. It's adopted. We place on file with the proper locations, which is the county and the State Board of Education, and then lastly, we'll adopt it into our financial software as part of our approved budget for the fiscal year 26-27. This is a little about the budget phases that we've gone through so far. So we started off with some preliminary budgets. These are the pieces of those. Started off in the December-January timeframe with our technology budget, and then we came back with our operations and maintenance budget, our transportation budget, and then lastly our education fund budget. So these are all the pieces of just specific funds. It then came back in June for a draft. The draft incorporated all the budget together as an all-encompassing budget to be considered. And then in July, there was a tentative budget. By law, the tentative budget allows us to put it on file. It was placed on file for 30 days. It was available for public viewing and comment. And then tonight we're here for the final budget that's before the Board of Education that is here for approval. This complies with Board Policy 410, Fiscal and Business Management. This is the budget that I'd ask that you adopt tonight. It basically is the final proposed budget. It's a legal document that reflects the district's goals and objectives. In addition to it, it is a planning instrument and a management tool for the district and for my office as well. Once the budget is approved, it also provides the community with an opportunity to view the expenditures of the public funds. And then at this point in the budget, it's the development process, and that the committee, through the Finance Committee's process, is participatory in reviewing the assumptions, the preliminary budget, the draft budget, the tentative budget, then incorporates it into what we see tonight for our revenues and expenditures by fund. The primary operating funds are Fund 10, that is our education fund, that's also known as our general fund. Fund 20 is our operations and maintenance, which will be taking care of our grounds and our buildings. Fund 40 is our transportation, that includes all operations of our transportation department, including the procurement of buses. Fund 50 is our Social Security fund, that's FICA and Medicare. It also incorporates the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund for those employees that are eligible. Our working cash fund, which is our investment fund. It's also our loan fund that we loan funds to as needed. Then lastly is our tort fund, our liability fund. The other remaining funds are Fund 30, that is our debt services. That's where we pay any debt through our principal and interest payments. Our Fund 60 is our capital projects that are approved by the board as part of our facility task force process. And then lastly, Fund 90 is our life health safety fund, which is a 10-year inspection that are categorized in A, B, and C. And this year we'll be doing $500,000 of item A, which are high priority items for life, health, safety. These are some of the proposed changes from the tentative. So now that school has started, we finalized what we believe are our final staffing levels, and those have been updated. We reviewed our grant expenditures and reimbursements with adjustments that we're anticipating less funding this year for our state and federal funds, and there will be very few carryovers as compared to prior years. Our salary and compensations are per our agreements. Our health insurance are based upon our participation in our health insurance cooperative. We've also finalized our Mid-Valley tuition payments for our special needs students, as well as our Fox Valley Career Center payments. And then any adjustments for the personal property replacement tax, which is a business tax, and then our evidence-based funding. We are still tier 4. We had a very small addition to those funds, a little over $4,000 this year of new money. And then lastly, it incorporates our capital projects and identifies our fund transfers. This is the proposed budget. This is the tentative to what we believe is the proposed adopted for tonight. These are our revenues by fund. I provided the fiscal year 26 ending year unaudited. You can see at the bottom it was $122,385,206. Our tentative was $125,510,388. So tonight, with the proposed fund, there is a reduction in what we believe to be revenues. The majority of that, about $662,935, are strictly in the education fund. Those are some changes that were made primarily to our grants. We did receive the final approval of our grants probably about a week ago, and that incorporates that less grant funding and those less carryover dollars. We're also very prudent in our interest income. The ed fund, of course, gets a lot of that return on the investment, and so that was also reduced as well. Just trying to be prudent. We'd rather underestimate our interest income and have it come in over than the other way. And so overall, there was also a change in the working cash. That's also an investment fund as well, so we reduced that estimation. Bless you. And then lastly, the overall revenue is anticipated at $124,488,203. So that's a reduction from last month's tentative. Looking at the tentative to adopted comparison for the expenditures, there was quite a bit of changes throughout the fund. The estimated June 30th, 2026 unaudited was $126,037,727. The tentative had a total of $134,215,448. And so we realized that was a high number. We've tightened our belt. We went back and looked at some of the reductions that we could. Some of those were that finalized staffing. Those are also grant dollars that would have went out as expenditures because those were reduced as well. We had some split positions that might have been a full FTE that maybe areas such as PE and I mentioned earlier music. So we reduced those as well. And then lastly, just some of those savings that we'd seen that we've, I'm sorry, not savings, but some of our reduced benefits, because when you reduce the salaries, you reduce the benefits. And some of our professional services we've cut back on. And then lastly, some of our supplies. And when you think of things as supplies, you don't think about things like natural gas and electrical needs, but those actually are part of those purchase services and supplies, depending on the type of service. Reviewed those two, and we believe that those can be reduced from the estimation. We've also, as you know, we've done some in the O&M area that's reduced. We've done some LED projects, so we anticipate some reduced electrical costs as well. So those are reflective in our overall budget. So reduction of the education fund for those areas, as I stated, reduction of the O&M fund, just a little bit in our debt service that reflects the last bond refunding, so there'll be a little less to pay on principal and interest. Transportation funds down slightly as well. We tried to see where we could cut some of those costs and some of the services that we were using out there. Our municipal retirement's down. We also believe we're going to get a favorable, what we call the employer rate, which is the employer contribution. No change in capital projects and no change in our life, health, safety. So the proposed expenditures are at $131,110,571. So again, quite a significant reduction from tentative to what we believe is our adopted expenditures for tonight.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
With the reduction in the transportation fund expenses, are we still planning to purchase the same amount of buses for next year?
We actually had a little bit over 7.5 buses. I know it's a weird number, but that was the number we had in there, not knowing what the cost is in the market. We still think, from some of our conversations with our providers, we'll probably be able to purchase about 8 buses this year. We originally would like to purchase 10. That kind of fits the fleet plan, but I think that's all that we can afford and that we'll purchase. And some of our cost savings too is the fact that we go through a lot of batteries and tires, and we had a lot of new vehicles come in last year. It was a delayed 2-year state purchase plan that we had that all came in 1 year. So we pulled back a little bit on that as well, hoping that we'd have some savings as well in our budget. Okay, other questions?
Actually, if there are any other questions or comments from the board, this would be the time.
Yep, I got a few more slides I'll go through.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, just that Paul had a question. I want to see if there's any before
Okay.
I forwarded. We're almost
Pardon me.
Oh, we're almost done. So pure revenues to expenses, we'll see a deficit that we'll be using the fund balance for of a negative $6,622,368. That's our deficit spending. A lot of that will be going toward, if not all of it, toward our capital plan, and that's part of our spend down plan of our fund balance. Question for the finance committee was, does that still meet our board policy of retaining 30% of the anticipated revenues? Yes, that's about a $38 million reserve amount. We're going to be well above this, as you'll see in some of our other slides. This represents the transfers that we'll be making, so once the budget's passed, then I can come back to you in a future meeting with transfer resolutions. Total dollars is 10.2 million transfers. It really, we showed on another slide, about 2.5 from the ed fund to O&M, and then 7.7 from the O&M to fund our capital projects, which is how we fund those. You can't levy in capital projects. You have to move money to pay for those, and they're restricted once they go in. And then the same thing with our expenditures. It shows the same transfers. I'll show you in another document how we trace those in the budget. All right, this is the statement of revenues. It just reflects the dollar numbers that I have mentioned. I put that on file with the county when I turned in the budget, just to confirm the areas of spend. So for example, the top one has local sources. That's our taxation, followed by our state funds, which is mostly our grants, followed by our federal, which is mostly grants, and that's how the county will look at that as well when I file those documents. Same thing here with our estimated expenses. That ties out to the previous numbers on our page, so we just show where we're having those expenditures as well in each of the funds. And this is a little bit about our budget summary. The first line is the anticipated beginning balance that we would have in the particular fund. So that starts our fiscal year July 1st, 2026. That's our beginning fund balance across the top. And then those dollars that I mentioned are there reflected in local sources, state sources, and federal sources. I will point out that the on behalf number, that $22,251,115, that is the state's contribution to our pension system that they make on behalf, and that's an in on the revenue and out on the expenses, so it zeroes out in our math. And then the disbursements are shows what we've done for each fund for instruction, support services, our community support services, payments to other governments, that's our Mid-Valley for special needs tuition, our debt services, and then the total expenditures are across there. And then any changes in funds plus or minus that are over-unders. Then this explains the transfers that I mentioned. The 2.5 out to the 2.5 in becomes a 7.7 from the ON fund that goes all the way over to the far right there into the capital projects fund. And then lastly, this is just a summary of that same page. What it does on the very bottom is it shows that $131,110,571, but now explains it differently as salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay, and other objects. And so those are all there for someone to see in the particular budget. Those are the primary summative pages. I do have the budget if you'd like to see that. It's a much larger document, but this is the page that summarizes all the transactions in a budget. And then lastly, once the proposed budget is approved by the board and it's adopted, it'll be placed on file with the Kane County Clerk, the State Board of Education, it'll be adopted into our Skyward budget software. The treasurer's report that you receive every month will be updated so you can see July and August and September. Then we'll prepare for the 2026 tax levy that will then be paid in 2027. We'll begin our 5-year projection modeling and begin a future forecasting and modeling. All right, this is the Miller ratio. The Miller ratio is just a requirement by law that shows that if I look at the previous 3 years of expenses, that's the $93,171,473 that I can't exceed 2.5 times what that would be, which we do not. And at the bottom, it's the same thing. It compares the fund balances to show that we're not carrying large fund balances. That's required by law, so this is out there for the community to read. And then lastly, any questions that you have, the top line says, is there a required written operational fund reserve reduction act? It is not required, so we've met all the obligations. Okay, that completes my presentation.
Thank you, Todd, for that excellent summary. Now that that's all done, it's the time for questions or comments from board members. Does anyone have any at this time? Yes.
I just want to reiterate a question or more of a comment that I posed in the earlier meeting about what you've done this year that was different than before. When we talk about belt tightening, it's harder to see the changes. We don't know exactly, but you took the time to go through many of these different categories and come up with a more true picture instead of saying it's going to be about this. You really made a deeper dive to give us truer numbers or more accurate numbers that you believe right now we're at, so that we see our fund balance going down a little bit, but you're working on it already to say, hey, let's take a deeper dive into these numbers and make sure that they're accurate. So moving forward with future budgets, we're on track and we know exactly where we're at.
That's correct. So if we had a chance where we could do calculations a couple times to find some ways to shave those numbers down, we've done that. Some ways it might be very painful. It's just the minimum, and we're going to have to figure out how to operate sometimes with what's in the budget. And that's what we've done through all the different areas of our funds from top to bottom to get to a reduced amount that we can pass and be prudent with our finances.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a comment. You mentioned the funds balance reducing. I think the public needs a little bit to understand that over the last 4.5 years, we have been spending and doing a number of capital projects on buildings that are 25 to 30 years old and that need replacing a number of different capital equipment in them. We've been lucky that we've had a significant fund balance where we've been able to use that. At some point that ends, and we have to come up with a different way at that point in time to continue to fund our capital investments, because we need to spend money on our buildings and in our different capital investments. Otherwise, they start falling apart.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I thanks for mentioning that, Paul. I think the thing I would also make sure the public knows if they're watching is that this, just make sure that they know when they see that deficit spending, it is intentional, because we did have that large fund balance that was for this capital work that we've been doing. So that's good that we've been able to do that. Like you said, we had that. We were fortunate that we had that, and we've been using that to fund these projects. But as we keep talking about, right, that there's only Todd can be our chief belt tightener, and he can help us tighten our belts as much as possible. But some point we've got to take a deeper look at that. So. We're starting to do that, and the board will continue to have those conversations. So,
I just want to make
Go ahead.
one comment. I just wanted to thank you for your diligence there. I know a year ago there was a lot of uncertainty about tariffs and this war that we're in and all these kind of things, and what kind of volatility that would introduce to the budget. But I can see that you really have done your diligence to not necessarily predict the future, but I know that those kind of things that gives us a little bit more cushion, because that was a concern.
You said the word tariff, and you made me think last year one of our bus parts came from Canada, and I heard that very statement on the news almost a year later. I thought, well, here we go again. Yeah. I can't base it on all those things, so this is the best picture.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you also. Anybody else? Since this is a hearing, it's an opportunity for people in the audience. If you have any questions or comments, now's the time. Go right ahead.
And I'm sure this has been answered in the prior meetings that I was not present at, but I saw a difference of from fiscal year 26 to 27 for fire prevention and safety, going from 141K budgeted to 500K. I'm just curious what's involved in that differential.
Sure. So the
Todd, I'm sorry. Could you repeat his question
yes,
for
so the question
the fans
was
at home?
Yes. Last year there was 100.
No, they just can't hear you without the mic. It's not recorded. So, yeah.
Last year in Fund
Yeah.
90, our Life Health Safety Fund, there was $141,000 expended. And how does that compare to this year's spending of $500,000? Last year was the end of a life cycle for a 10-year Life Health Safety where we had to complete some items. So they're categorized in A, B, and C. A is urgent. And so we got all the way through the A's, the B's, and the C's, and last year was a final spend for another plan. A new plan was done, a new 10-year plan, which is where we have the new A items for the $500,000. Those are at 2 middle schools. Each gets $250,000, so that's the change between the years. One was the end of one plan, and this is the beginning of a new plan. So every 10 years, we have to do these inspections with the state, put them on file, and these are just different parts of a spending plan.
Understood. Is there, sorry if I overlooked it, is there an outline of the A, B, and C's for 26 or 27?
Yeah, they're not on this particular board packet, but they're available through our operations and maintenance. And certainly, if you want to follow up, we can give those to you. It's a very long document, just so you know. It certainly is something you can see. So, yeah, absolutely.
I would also maybe add what I think you were looking at the amount that was budgeted and spent last year, right? And then the new amount that's for this coming year, right? So, and again, to Todd's point, that health, life, safety cycle, it's like a 10-year thing. So you go and you have to have all that stuff inspected, and then we have a certain amount of time to get that stuff done. Yeah.
Anyone else? Well, thank you all for your comments and questions. I will close the hearing at this time. We will take action on Todd's request later in the meeting. And next item 2, a goals update from Dr. Barrett.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I am glad to have an opportunity to talk about these things with you tonight. We'll just make a little computer switch here. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate you, sir. Let's see if we're going to connect. So I think one of the things that I would want to highlight to start, obviously we work through, are you still connected by chance? Okay. Yeah. Did it? Okay, hang on. Let's give it a minute here. Oh, it's verifying security. You know, on the computer cycles, we just got new devices in the district office, so that might be part of it. Let's see here again. Oh, see, you're right. No, it didn't even show up, Todd. You're right. Did you? Okay. Well, I'll vamp a little bit. You do have this in your packet. Pairing with the receiver was successful. This is a new thing I've never seen before. I may be calling on you here, Chase, in a minute. Oh, wait. I think I got it. Oh! Oh, here we go. Jackpot. All right. All right. Thanks for the patience, everyone. All right, so obviously we're working through our strategic plan, and want to point out here that our presentation, it says 25-26 school year. That might be a little bit of a what? What we're talking about is here tonight is what are the things that we worked through last year, in terms of our strategic plan goals, and it's important to just talk about these things because. And to spend some time reflecting on them, I think, because so much of what we do, we're just doing the work, right? We just do the work. And even as I was preparing the presentation, we're sitting down with the team and we're being thoughtful about, like, okay, let's be explicit about acknowledging all the things that we've accomplished in this area because our team and our staff is just, getting good work done over the course of the year. So it's a nice opportunity to do that. And I think it's important to note that, this is what's driving us, our mission, vision, and values and all of that. Our strategic planning process helped us, we used that process to establish these things, right? And when you think of I think it's just important to make sure everybody knows, like, your vision is, like, what do you aspire to be, right? What do you aspire to do? And, you know, we aspire to achieve excellence and empower our kids to succeed, and that word empower is key. And then, you know, your mission is, you know, how do you do it? What do you do every day as an institution? And we want to educate and prepare our kids with knowledge, skills, and I think it's so important, we highlight this a lot, and personal qualities. Those personal qualities that will take them out into the world to help them be productive citizens in a diverse world. Because we know we want our kids to be able to go, it's not just about what we're doing here, it's not just about the content, it's about preparing them to go be successful. So, as you know, there's kind of 4 key areas: enrollment and staffing, career and college pathways, cultural competencies, and community engagement. And you'll remember these were identified through a pretty rigorous and extensive process that we went through engagement with the community and our internal and external stakeholders a couple of years ago now. So again, it's just, we think it's important to kind of explicitly note some of these things and the good work that we're doing in our district and their relationship to our goals. So we want to note these, and then we'll kind of highlight next steps here at the end. So in the enrollment and staffing category, kind of several big things that we were able to accomplish this year. First, you know, we may not remember this, but I think it's important to acknowledge. Remember, one of the key questions when we started this was, are we going to need to do some changing to our elementary boundaries, right? Like, this was one of the questions as our enrollment was changing and the community was changing. Like, that was one of the key questions, is, are we going to need to look at that? And we've spent a lot of time digging into that subject, demographic studies and facility capacity analysis, and multiple discussions here at the board. And if you'll remember, finally at one point last year, after looking at all that, we made the determination that for the time being, we believe that given what our demographics are and given the way that we're using our buildings currently, that we made the firm decision to maintain our elementary boundaries for all the neighborhoods that are currently sending kids to our schools. So we haven't made a change, but I think it's important to acknowledge that as a step, because we did a lot of work to determine if we should make that change or not, and we ultimately decided that we didn't need to do that at this time. So I think that's a good one to acknowledge. Also, just acknowledging the ongoing middle school structure transition and FTE reductions at Geneva High School. You'll recall that we have been slowly transitioning from that team model at the middle school level, and because we kind of hadn't adjusted our middle school staffing to address our demographic shift, and now we've been trying to do that in a thoughtful way through attrition. It's going well, and we continue to do that. We're down a couple more this year, and we'll be down a couple more the next year. And same thing at Geneva High School. I think we are down. I think we're down about half an FTE this year from last year. Would have been more, but we actually had some electives that there was some high interest in that we ended up not actually increasing FTE in a couple of elective areas because of that. But again, it's important to note that that overall, like, kind of smaller FTE reduction from last year to this year is part of a larger transition of, you know, we're down I think almost 8, sounds about right, Dr. Law, almost 8 FTE like in the last 5 or 6 years at Geneva High School. And, you know, that goes to both that transition and the middle school transition. You know, to the point you were making earlier, Jackie, about being thoughtful with our budget, and, you know, that's real FTE reduction that is you know, having a positive impact on the taxpayers. We also did a lot of work last year, and you'll recall we established a developer donation agreement for the LaFox development. I think that was a huge, huge lift and a great way to kind of, I guess, make sure the district is in a good place should this development continue to move forward and send students to Geneva. So that was a big one. Last year, we actually implemented our elementary class size target process, and that worked well. Also, I think really important to acknowledge that we had some, contract and working agreement updates that we worked through last year, and that obviously has to do with our staff. We had really collaborative processes in terms of working through all of that. As you know, we worked through the contract negotiation with our GEA colleagues, had a successful process there, and support staff working agreement, transportation working agreement. So I think that was really productive on the staffing side. And we also completed the initial phase of our support staff classification study, which was a key goal under this area of modernizing some of our systems as our recognizing that our larger district kind of has to have more of a corporate model than maybe we were accustomed to having. So that's the enrollment and staffing area. In the college and career pathways area, I think the key factors here are the expanding dual credit courses at the high school. That's the first one. We've added more classes this year. And also, as you all saw last year, we developed a long-range dual credit expansion plan that was presented here. So we increased offerings this year. There's going to be, even as part of that plan, there'll be more offerings in subsequent years. We're working on multiple ways that we're kind of incentivizing and working with our staff to get more teachers who are credentialed to teach those classes. As you'll recall, that's the biggest kind of hurdle that we have, is having teachers who, teachers have to have certain credentials to be able to teach those classes. So working through that has been pretty big. And we're going to continue to do that, and you'll get more information and presentations about that as the year goes on. We also selected a new student career and college pathway platform. You'll recall this. It's called School Links. It replaced a system called Naviance that we just felt like needed to be improved. We're just getting that rolling. Getting that rolling was kind of slowed down by the our student information system transition, because we needed all the those systems talk to each other, right? So we needed all the data in synergy to be able to talk to School Links, but that's rolling now. Expanded our career exploration opportunities, K-8, with some common experiences, a variety of common experiences for our kids at K-8, whether that's via our LMCs who work together to do some of that stuff, and some of our certain academic pathways, our A&E team. That's cultural competency. Sorry, George. I knew he was going to be like, no, you're getting it wrong, Andy, shut up. But yeah, so we did expand those K-8 opportunities for career exploration and some cool career day activities at the middle school level too. And then ongoing conversations with potential community partners. I don't want to get too far out over my skis on this, but I think we have some potential exciting opportunities to expand some career experiences for our kids in Geneva and in the region. So more information on that to come, but the conversations have been productive. In terms of cultural competency, we've had across all of our elementary schools had some consistent professional development and discussion in this area, led by our learning and teaching department, and Dr. Petmezis did that. At the elementary level, we identified monthly themes, and we're able to implement those across all of our library media centers across all elementary schools. And this is the point, the one I meant to say now. But our elementary AE team has realigned with some new literacy instruction with common novel studies that have some cultural competency goals. I also think it's pretty exciting what's some of the things that are going on at Geneva High School. You'll learn more about this later this year, but last year we spent a good amount of time developing a cross-cultural and community service initiative, and this year we're going to start to see some of the fruit of that at Geneva High School. And the key factor, there's two key components there, right? One is the community service component, which definitely aligns to our cultural competencies, and then the other is this kind of cross collaboration that I think we're really excited about, which is getting our kids to interact differently with different classmates and peers, kind of the different cultures within Geneva, because there is that too, right? And so we recognized we kind of need to be intentional about how we help our kids interact that way. So you'll learn more about that, but last year was we spent a lot of time developing all of that. And last, you maybe have heard a little bit of us talking about this, but we spent a lot of time developing a community culture fair in partnership with the public library. So that's coming up. It's been scheduled now, and we're pretty excited about not only how we're going to be able to acknowledge and highlight different cultures within our community, but that we're doing it as a partnership with the public library. They've been a great partner, as you know, and we're kind of excited about that, because then it's not just the school talking about the school, right? This is now a community event, we hope, and something we can build on. So that should be pretty cool. You'll learn more about that too. And speaking of the library, community engagement was a big part was a final goal, and us being intentional about how we're partnering and getting the community engaged and collaborating with different partners and stakeholders and whatnot. And that library card initiative was a big one. We spent a lot of time establishing that. So you'll recall that you all ultimately approved this plan last year that partners with the library and allows anyone enrolling in the district to automatically have their kid be eligible to get a Geneva Public Library account. So in this first year, well over 90%, I think it was 94% of our families took part in that. So I think that's a big win, and clearly means folks wanted that and are grateful to have that. So I think that's good. As you know, we held multiple Community Connects events where I just was out and talking to folks in the community and having some good conversation and answering questions. We had a variety of communications campaigns. I know that you heard from members of the communications task force that sit on this table or sit on the board here that we tried to implement last year, whether it's with rolling out Synergy or we've tried to streamline, and that's the next one, enhanced communication practices, working to continue to streamline our communication practices, especially at certain levels. We streamlined the email communication process at the high school, I think, to much success. One of our schools was using kind of a different communication tool. We're done doing that, and they're using the same tool as everybody else. Having our new student information system, we're going to be able to continue as we move forward to leverage some of that over the course of this year. And so I think that's going to be good going forward, and you'll learn more about that. So those are some of the kind of big things we did in each of those 4 areas, in addition to just kind of all the regular work that goes on every day. So what's the next steps? Obviously, we're going to continue to reflect and refine. We'll keep coming back to you to present and discuss. Next step is really we want to establish some explicit goals of things to accomplish this year, and we're going to talk more about that. We have been talking about that internally, and I want an opportunity then to talk with you all a little bit more about that. And as I think part of that kind of happens via my evaluation, right? So one of the next things that I think will happen is we'll have some opportunity for us to talk, in some future closed sessions about some explicit goals and kind of I can share some of where I and our team are at, and you can share some perspective to kind of so we can establish some of those goals for me, and then we can talk about how those translate out into bigger goals for the district for the year. And then just ongoing communication and awareness. Like I think the best information about all of this is when you can't do it 3 days into the school year, obviously, but when we have teachers and kids here to talk about the great things that are going on in the district. So we'll have a lot more of that too in meetings throughout the year. So that's really all I have on that for now, Larry. Thanks.
That was an excellent update. I appreciate it. I guess Dunkashane would be a word that's appropriate to say. And next item on the agenda is public comments. Does anyone have any public comments at this time? Nobody has asked for any. Well, we're glad you're here in any case, and we look forward to the next time. Legislative updates, item 5. Jackie?
I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Jackie. Superintendent's report. Andy, we haven't heard quite a bit.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just in case you hadn't heard me ramble enough yet. Superintendent's report is quick tonight as we're, again, 3 days into the school year. I'll say this forever. It doesn't feel like, it's like all this build up to the start of the school year. It feels like we've been in school for 2 months, right? 3 days in. We're right back in it because our staff is so on top of it and our kids are so prepared. And so we just jump right back in. So first, I just want to kind of highlight very briefly, we had an awesome kickoff with our staff last Monday. It was a great event. As a unit district, we have the special and unique opportunity. We're a unit district, but not a huge unit district, so we can get everybody together. We can get all of our staff together. And it's a good opportunity to help remind everybody about the important work that we do and, the purpose of our work. Folks hear me say every year the goal of this day is to be a celebration of our profession and the work that we do in Geneva, and I think we did a nice job. This year we had the special and unique opportunity of having a variety of different alumni of the district come and share with teachers and our staff and kind of inspire them. Couple alumni who are in this room who were willing to take the time and share, so that's really appreciated. And I think what was cool about it was alumni who had very different experiences and backgrounds, but all who matriculated through the system and now wanted to inspire our teachers to keep doing the great things that they do. So I think that was really good. Again, first week of school. Last week was that first week, so we had a lot of professional development and preparation. Want to thank the community for that, honestly. Those first couple days are really, really important, especially in a year like this where we have a lot of transition with our new student information system, things like that. So a lot of good PD was done. And then our first day for kids was on Thursday. And of course, as you know, not just school starting, but now we're back in it with activities and community events. So first day was Thursday, corn boil was Thursday night, first football game was Friday night. We're right back in it. So it's pretty fun and exhilarating. And then last, just wanted to highlight a few things. What are some things that are new for this year? As we've talked about a lot, you all know the Synergy SIS, the student information system is new for everybody. We've been rolling that out, and I think, as we talked about at the last meeting, while that's a little, it's always a little difficult when you're learning something new. I think it's going pretty well. We have, as you know, updated literacy resources at the elementary that we're excited about. Our teachers are working hard, had some PD on that as we started the year, and you'll learn more about that, how that's going. But you learned a lot about that last year as our committee was trying to make this decision. this year we've got a new numeracy committee that's going to be having some important conversations in that area, led by Dr. Petmezis. So you'll probably be hearing some more about that work that they're just kind of embarking on, similar to the work that our literacy committee was having for a few years. That continuing transition from the team model at the middle school level and the dual credit courses at the high school, which I already mentioned in our strategic plan update. I think those are two pretty big things that are might feel a little different and folks will see as new for this year. So that's that. We're looking ahead to a really great year on a mission for kids in Geneva 304. That's all I got, Larry.
Thank you. Questions
Andy?
or anything?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just real quick. I know we had a big lift again this summer with projects throughout the district. I'm guessing that since you didn't have a slide on it, I guess they all came in on time. And
They did. I think, did I have a slide on that last week? I think I had a slide on that at our last meeting. But yes,
Okay.
everything came in on time. And as I think we maybe talked about recently, huge shout out to our operations team, Mr. Peterson, Todd, who oversees them, Brian and our construction management firm. I think this summer especially, we had a lot of work to get done, and it all got done and got done well. And I don't think every place can say the same. So we should be really proud of that. And I think it's important. I think, Paul, you might have mentioned this at a recent meeting. That's kind of a market shift, right? We've made some intentional efforts to really improve those processes, and I think we have. So that's good. I'm glad you asked about that.
Also that it was on budget too.
Yes.
Not only on time, but
Yes.
on budget. There were no cost overruns.
Correct.
Anyone else? I would re-emphasize all of what you've just said about being on budget and being done on time. That is a significant change from past practices and represents a huge improvement in value for the taxpayers, I believe. Okay, next item is topics pending action consideration, and guess what? The budget adoption for fiscal year 26-27 is right there on the list. Any further discussion on that before we actually adopt a resolution? Okay, in this case, I'll say, I propose a motion to adopt the budget for fiscal year 26-27 as proposed by Todd.
So moved.
Okay.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you all, and thanks, Todd, for.
feels great about that.
I'll take my month off.
Yeah.
Be back with 11.
Okay, item 8, work study topics and future action considerations. The first item is a long series of policy updates and revisions. Stephanie, do you want to say anything at this point?
Yeah, so just a few things. First, a lot of these policies, most all of them, are just review policies that we have to review every few years, every 5 years, something of the sort. And there aren't many changes. Actually, most of them don't have any changes, or it's slight, very small verbiage changes. The importance of reviewing those policies is really as a refresher for all of us of what the policy is, because we do have several policies, so it's good to just read through those and make sure there's nothing that we need to adjust based on our practices or our desired practices. So I just wanted to call out 4 policies to you guys. Like, I want you to read through all of them, obviously, but these are the 4 that I would pay close attention to and I can answer any questions on. So the first one is 2120E3 exhibit. It's the resolution to appoint a delegate to the Illinois Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly. So we do that every year. Normally Jackie is our delegate for that, but there is a resolution now that's added for like how we will go about assigning that delegate each year. So it's just a little bit of a structure change and just good to know because it's something we do. Next is 2230, public participation at Board of Education meetings and petitions to the board. So we had previously had our policy of giving speakers 5 minutes to speak, and we now are aligning it to the standard practice of giving our public speakers 3 minutes. This isn't because we think anyone's going overtime or whatever that may be, but it's just really because this is standard practice, and we chose in the past not to make that change because of things that were going on at the time. But now we thought we should align with the standard practice, what's recommended to us by press. And the beauty of this is that at any time, the board president could decide that speakers can have more time. The board president can say, I know that this is a topic that people have a lot to say about, so we're going to change the time to 5 minutes. So we don't have to always stick to that 3 minutes if we find that something else is needed. The next one is policy 730, student assignment and intra-district transfer. So this was just a policy to review. And in our review, we decided to make some changes to it that would align to what our actual practice is. So this is about how we have our boundaries set up in our district for elementary. But since we are so unique, the policy had never stated anything about our middle school system of how we divide up our students per middle schools. So we just listed it out in the policy, so we are being very clear and transparent. And then the last one is 740, non-public school students, including parochial and homeschool students. This is just a small change, again, that we wanted to align the policy more to our practice. It had a date. It used to say that you had to submit a request before May 1st. And once we looked at our practices, that wasn't really necessary, so we took that part out. So not any big changes, but just wanting you all to understand like why some of those you may see some changes there. And we were just trying to align the policy to what we've actually been doing and make sure that we're clear with our community on those policies. But of course, you can ask any questions at the next meeting that you may have on any of these.
Thank you, Stephanie. Anybody have any other comments or questions on that? This is the first reading, and so there's, as Stephanie said, an opportunity to comment or talk about this at our next meeting. No action required at this time. Information, item 9, board meeting presentation schedule and FOIA requests is for information only. The consent agenda, item 10, the personnel report, resignations, retirements, leave requests, changes in assignment, full-time equivalent, and new hires. Got to be on the back of the page. Monthly financials for July. Item 3, gifts, grants, and bequests, $4,850 from Geneva Basketball Association. Deposit for varsity baseball turf field. Item 4, gifts, grants, and bequests, $7,000 from MoCat Inc., Noble House. $1,500 DNA Fox Valley Plumbing. $1,500 E-Ray Construction, $1,500 The Mats, $2,500 for team supplies, uniform purchase, and needs. We are very grateful for all of the donations of the very generous people who support various school projects, and certainly want to say thanks on behalf of the entire board. Motion to approve. Oh, is there one more? Here. Which one is it? Oh, we added that. Gifts, grants, and bequests of $500 Wabash Valley College Bass Fishing Team for GHS Bass Fishing Club activities account for the Titian Memorial. Titan, okay. Okay, now we can do it.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, board member comments and reports, item 11, and let's see. You've already had a chance to talk, Stephanie, but you can go first.
Okay, I'll just kick it off. So just wanted to welcome back all our staff, students, and families. I agree with Andy. I feel like we've been back forever now. I don't know how that happened, but I was able to attend the opening day, and I did get to speak, so thank you, Andy, for including me in that alumni portion. But really, that day, even though I'm not part of the staff, I always find incredibly inspiring, and I'm always so grateful that we get that chance just to spend an hour together and kind of celebrate what the district is all about, what we're trying to do here, and how valued our staff is. So thank you so much for putting that all together. And I love the music performance at the end. That's always one of my favorite parts. So nice job to what was your name again, Andy?
The Geneva All-Star Band.
The Geneva All-Star Band. I forgot. We're going to make this a thing. They're going to be playing gigs on Friday nights, I think.
It's nice to have all these talented musicians around you. How do you not take advantage?
Well, it is really nice to get to see a lot of our music staff and teachers perform in that way. We always see it opposite. We see their kids performing, so nice to see that. And yes, it's such a busy time of year, so I was able to attend the Corn Boil, such a great community event. The first game, even with the slight rain delay, what ended up being, but that all worked out well. And I know all fall sports and activities are well underway. We've got the band has been working hard for a long time. I know all the other sports have their different things going on, and then theater will be kicking up starting on Wednesday with the announcements for the yearly shows. So stay tuned, guys. We'll see what it's going to be. But yeah, lots of fun. But I did want to express my gratitude to all of our PTOs. The start of the year has so many different events, whether it's ice cream socials or back to school nights or whatever it might be. So thank you to our PTOs for all that they're doing to pull all that together. But that's all I have.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo part of what Stephanie was saying. The kickoff for the beginning of the year was really inspiring. I appreciate the diversity and the alumni that we have, people coming from different walks of life, and we talk about not everybody takes a career path and go to college, and I appreciated that we have shown that acceptance in our district with having one of our alumni that took a different path, but a significant one for our community, and I wanted to just say that. I've just taken note that our teacher training, I wasn't a part of that, but just knowing, Andy, what the staff has put together in terms of professional development, especially for the new teachers coming on board. I was reflecting on that today and thinking about, with our universities across the country cutting programs left and right for, budgetary reasons, of course. It's nice to know that we're doing some things to have our teachers prepared, knowing that our children may have one path that they might be wanting to take, but may not be available, so I appreciate that professional development, I'm sure, is including those kinds of things to keep our educational experiences from the children relevant and also current. I also noted that to the extent that we're getting the band back together in the same vein of professional development, that's going to help bring a closer bond. And how many times we know in the real world, if you will, this is the real world, but the idea that musical bands sometimes break apart because they don't have a good bond. And I appreciate, Andy, what you're saying in terms of how we have this collectiveness, cohesiveness. I will even use a term from physics, coherence, so that we could keep that bond as well as we keep a band, because otherwise, some bands go the wrong way. So this is good. One last thing is that I really want to say that as we look at all these different budding projects with our students and the different activities that we have in terms of recognizing excellence, I think that we set the stage for them to really perform not just as a band but also as a unit. School district should. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Jackie?
Yeah, I want to say some of the same things. Welcome back to everybody, and hope you have a great year this year. It was fun attending the kickoff last Monday and seeing all the educators come together and see each other again and see how happy they all were and talking together. So it's a special day, I think, to get everyone, like you said, the band back together. We're talking about things. I appreciate that there's really no data or numbers or bar charts or graphs. It's just let's all have fun, and so it's definitely a highlight for me every year to go to that event. I do want to thank, again, everybody who's made donations to the district, that we recognize them every meeting, and they do some amazing things, and we really wouldn't be able to do a lot of things with our students that we do without them. So, again, have a great year, everyone.
Thank you. Paul?
Again, I would also say I had a great time at the kickoff. It was kind of interesting as I was taking the last parking spot in one of the local businesses. They were all outside looking, and they looked at me and they said, "What's going on?" I said, "It's a Geneva takeover." But they said, "We never see this on a Monday morning." I says, "Well, it's, you know, this is Geneva School District getting together," and they were quite impressed by that. Follow up a little bit on what Andy was talking about the projects, the capital projects that we completed. I just want to give everybody a little warning and heads up that in October, the facilities task force will be bringing to you all the quotes and bids that are coming for our projects for next summer. With the increasing length and lead times for some capital equipment, we need to have this wrapped up pretty quickly so that we're making sure we're on time and all projects can be completed during the summer period next year.
Molly?
Big echo to what everybody has said already. Unfortunately, I could not attend the event on Monday, and I'm super bummed, but glad to hear that it was a success. I wanted to just, I know it's been said already tonight, but to reiterate what Paul and Larry were saying, and Andy, regarding the capital projects and having them done on time and within budget. I really want to emphasize to our listeners and our community that that was very intentional, and a lot of people had to put forth a lot of energy and intention to make that happen, and that was not always the case. So I think that is really something for us to be proud of. And Todd, to you and all of your work, I think I say this every year, just it's amazing to me how you hit the ground running. You know, the second the budget is put in, you're on to the next year's, and so much time and effort goes into that as well. So thank you for all that you have done. Thank you to our donors that were listed tonight. And just let's have a great school year.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add, but couple of our two presentations tonight, I think as a school board, there are a couple of approvals that are really important throughout the year. Several approvals that are important. Obviously, tonight's budget approval is a big one, and so thank you to Todd and your team for putting that all together, and the facility commit, or the finance committee, and the rest of the board in terms of working through that throughout the year, I guess. So the strategic plan presentation, it was a good reminder again of all the things that we did this year. I mean, a lot of things that happened this year. And Andy, kudos to you in terms of really working hard in terms of putting that plan together and executing what was needed to be done on that plan. So that was a good presentation to be reminded again of all the things that we accomplished from a strategic planning standpoint. And then just what everyone else said about opening day. Kathy, awesome job on your speech, and Stephanie, you as well. So it was great to hear from both of you. But yeah, it was a great event. Obviously, Cornwall was great. First football game, victorious, so that was good. And yeah, hope everyone had a great start to the school year.
Thanks, Dan. As is usually my policy to go last, it's because that way I can just say what everybody said is right and correct and very important. And I thank all of you for your hard work. I did make it to the football game and got a little wet, but it was all in all worthwhile. And so I'm glad we're starting off the new year right, and look forward to continued good performance from everybody. Having said that, the next item is executive session, and I'll read the statement. Executive session to consider matters pertaining to the setting of a price for the sale or lease of property owned by the public body, appointment, employment, compensation, or discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting. So we have to have a motion to go into executive session, and then you all will be excused.
Motion to go in executive session.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we'll take a few minute break if anybody needs it, and if we